Hi, my name is Mark and I'm from Ukraine. You've probably heard about my country a little bit more than usual in the last couple of weeks.
We wake up this morning to a war.
War has returned to Europe.
February 24th, I wasn't sleeping. I was anxious as things were getting really scary that night. Commercial airplanes left the country and the US officials once again told the world that Russia was about to start a full-scale invasion of my country. It is 4 a.m. and suddenly every Russian TV channel starts showing an address of the Russian president in which he de facto declares war on Ukraine. 20 minutes later, rockets hit my city. Putin has started a full-scale invasion of a peaceful, democratic, and sovereign nation of 40 million people against me, my friends, against flourishing cities, and the whole democratic world, in fact. So let's be clear, that the war you're watching right now live in social media and TV, it is the most significant and consequential event of the 21st century so far, and the safety of the entire population on Earth now depends on its outcome. Because this war is not only about Ukraine, it is about the sick ambitions of a fascist dictator who wants to reclaim the empire. You might ask yourself, wouldn't there be a rational reason for Russia to do such a horrendous step? To start the biggest war since World War II and to kill thousands of civilians of a neighboring country? Is there an economic interest? Or maybe there are some strategic military aims? Maybe Ukraine had done some horrible things to Russia or its Russian-speaking population? The answer will horrify you. There's none of that. The justification of this war is purely fascist, imperialistic, and insane.
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции. Призываю вас немедленно сложить оружие и идти домой.
The real reason for Putin's invasion was never really hidden. He has outlined his motives in an extensive speech in which he denied the existence of my country and the right of my people to live in peace. He said that, first, Ukraine is an artificial state created by Lenin in the 20th century. Second, Ukrainians are not actually people and those part of a bigger Russian nation. And third, Ukrainian government is not legit, is run by Nazis and does not represent the will of Ukrainian people, while its only purpose is to threaten Russia. If you still didn't get it, it is hard even to call those things bullshit. This is just some sick fantasy of an evil human being, and the most horrifying part is that this being, Vladimir Putin, believes most of it himself. I don't want to go into historical details, refuting every little piece of what Vladimir Putin said in his sickening speech, but there are things that you should know about Ukraine before we go next. Ukraine is a big, independent and democratic country in Europe. Ukrainian people have been living on these lands for centuries, fighting for their identity and trying to create a state where Ukrainians wouldn't be oppressed, where Ukrainian language wouldn't be persecuted as it was in Russian Empire and Soviet Union, and where Ukrainians would have the right to elect their own government. For us, democracy and European values are not just words, they are a matter of survival. And despite many problems, corruption, politicians, bad economy, we fought really hard not to let autocracy win in Ukraine, ever. And that's why we're under attack. Because the line in this war is not between Russian-speaking and Ukrainian-speaking population. It is between democracy and autocracy. So why is it your problem suddenly? What do you have to do with some country thousands of miles away? Well, this might sound like a cliche, but I have to say it anyways, because this time it is true. History repeats itself. And this story is from 1939 and Hitler's conquest of Europe. World War II began in 1939 with Germany invading and annexing Poland. At that time, for most of Europeans and for sure Americans, it also looked like some Polish problems. Poland didn't get much of a support from its allies, France and Britain, despite having an agreement in place. So Poland was relentlessly conquered by Germany from the west and Soviets from the east. Little those allies knew, psychopaths like Hitler could never be satisfied, because Poland wasn't first. By that time, Germany had successfully annexed part of Czechoslovakia without much consequence. persecuted Jews, and made generally horrible stuff. And I'm sure you all know what happened next. So, is Russia new Nazi Germany? Well, by now, no, not precisely. But it for sure wants to be one.
Самое важное. Мы ни в коем случае не можем остановиться на полпути. То есть, типа там Львов кому-то оставить или еще что-то. Тогда в противном случае просто ничего не надо было начинать.
Я скажу больше, с такими санкциями, кто сказал, что надо останавливаться вообще в границах Украины?
Совершенно верно.
Ну и всем бед один ответ.
Вот.
Весь мир в труху, но не сейчас.
Да, совершенно верно.
Обязательно бахнет.
Now we're talking. Putin and Russian propaganda are talking about fighting Nazi Germany literally every day. But what they really mean, they admire it, and they copy it consciously.
Геббельс же говорил, чем невероятнее ложь, тем быстрее в нее поверят. И он добивался своего, он был талантливый человек. Вот мне кажется, что и сегодня те, кто передергивает историю, стараются принизить заслуги тех, кто уничтожил нацизм, и наоборот, поменять даже местами преступников и их жертвы, они как раз действуют по той же самой логике. Чем невероятнее ложь, тем быстрее в нее поверить.
Putin has been on a killing spree of his potential opponents and journalists. They even put in jail all parents of dissidents who fled the country. There are laws which legalize persecution of an LGBT community. There are vast reports of torture and rape in prisons. And since last week, you get a 15 years prison term just for acknowledging the war in Ukraine, or talking about anything about Russian military laws. And this is what Russian politics looks like.
Как надо с ними разговаривать? Что нужно от них требовать? Не надо бряцать оружием. Надо сказать, давайте выполнять. Отказывайтесь, тогда мы можем принять другую программу. А какую вы почувствуете? 4 часа утра, 22 февраля. Я бы хотел, чтобы 22 год был бы годом мирным, но я люблю правду. 75 лет говорю правду. Это будет год не мирный. Это будет год, когда, наконец, Россия станет снова великой страной, и все должны заткнуться и уважать нашу страну.
And this guy, he's not just some guy. He's one of the prominent Russian politicians who usually speaks out loud the very thing Putin thinks about. So, yes, Russia is a fascist state. And it is getting worse every day. Putin's main narrative is not defensive. It is resentment and anger. Resentment for losing the lands of the Soviet Union and Russian Empire. The new Russian ideology is based on the World War II victory, but their main slogan is not never again. It is we can do it again. And by that they mean conquering back those lands. I'd remind you, the greater Soviet Union border was somewhere here. And Putin was serving as a KGB officer in Berlin, not Moscow. Take a listen to what Russian main propagandists are saying to their people.
На территории шведского острова Готланд садятся российские военно-транспортные самолеты, которые доставили туда зенитные ракетные системы С-400. Белорусские вооруженные силы перекрывают Суалковский коридор, соединяются и изолируют НАТО и Польшу от прибалтийских стран. В этот момент выключаются средства радиоэлектронного подавления, и изумленный Запад и НАТО узнают о том, что Россия объявила бесполетную зону радиусом 400 километров вокруг острова Готланд. Все Балтийское море находится под прицелом российских бастионов, которые там же развернуты. Те немногочисленные силы спецназа, специальных операций Канады, Великобритании, Германии, США, в странах Балтии, их окружают полки Псковской дивизии ВДВ, и они складывают оружие. Новое правительство в Эстонии, в Латвии, в Литве провозглашают: Эстонская Народная Республика, Латвийская Народная Республика, Литовская Народная Республика. Все.
Not that far away land anymore, isn't it? For 20 years, Putin was building a modern fascist empire, and it could be worse than what humanity has seen before. So, how to stop the new Hitler? Well, I guess the nice start would be not to repeat the same old mistakes. Putin has started this journey in 2008 when Russia invaded Georgia and occupied 20% of its territory, Georgia the country. Just like Hitler in 1938 occupying Sudetenland, part of Czechoslovakia. And Putin got away with it.
These Russian actions would represent a dramatic and brutal escalation of the conflict in Georgia. And these actions would be inconsistent.
After that, 6 years later, he invaded Ukraine and annexed Crimea, annexed the territory of another state for the first time since World War II. Was the West concerned? Well, yeah, very concerned. It even imposed some sanctions, but Russian elites still enjoy the sound of southern France and fancy yachts around the coast. Some economic turbulences were leveled by a surge of patriotism, because once again, Russia has started its path of reclaiming its empire, and the Russian people were happy about it. After that, Putin has started the horrible war in Donbas, which resulted in tens of thousands of deaths, millions of displaced people, and torture camps on the territories of once peaceful and prosperous cities. Russians have even shot the passenger plane with 300 passengers on board. Most of them were citizens of Western countries. Do you want to guess what happens next? Well, European countries started doing even more business with Russia. Germany was building a new gas pipeline which avoided Ukraine and other countries, and Europe's dependency on Russian gas actually increased. Europe provided Putin with cash, which he spent on rockets, which were killing not only Ukrainians, but Dutch, Australian, German, Americans. And here we are. Do you want to know why Putin decided to invade Ukraine now? Because he was sure he would get away with it one more time, just like Hitler got away time after time in 30s before it was too late. Putin has started his new world war just like his role model started it 83 years ago, for the same reasons. The West has always been afraid of it and therefore tried to make the new Hitler happy, so he wouldn't commit new crimes. And every time, he did precisely what the West was afraid of. And with this attitude, the biggest war since 1939 was just a matter of time. But the problem is, European and American leaders still don't get it. They hope to have a deal with Putin, hope to reset the relationships. But it was doomed from the start. Imagine a person who, in 21st century, does not use internet, doesn't know what YouTube is, does not read foreign news, but receives all the information from Russian propaganda and from his subordinates, whose only aim is to bring good news. Here, he shows Oliver Stone a video of a Russian military helicopter working in Syria, which in fact is an American video from Afghanistan.
Кто на земле? Они бегут с оружием. Это работа нашей авиации. Кто на земле?
The man is delusional, and the most important, this man has a nuclear weapon. Are you scared already? Because I am. But the very thing the world was so afraid of is already happening, and the more we fear, the worse it gets. Because there's a caveat. Vladimir Putin is not a madman, he's a Russian thug from the 90s. And this is true, he was doing basically those things and working for gangsters in 90s in St. Petersburg. And once you shake away all the fancy bullshit created by the Russian propaganda machine, you will see just a stupid old gangster with crazy ideas and power, not a genius strategist or a devil with nuclear weapons. And for some reason, those simple behavioral patterns familiar to every Ukrainian and Russian 90s kid have become a mystery for Ivy League alumni, occupying the highest offices in Europe and US. Showing a gangster you are afraid by not helping a weaker ally, giving him a clear path to commit crimes by drawing a red line far from it was just a week ago. A 5-year-old kid would do a better job because 5-year-old kids are taught to stand up to a bully. Yale alumni? Apparently not. Nuclear war would be a catastrophe for the whole planet. And it is okay to do everything possible to prevent it. It is not okay though to let a thug blackmail the whole world. Sure, you can let him have Ukraine. How is it different than if Russia starts attacking Sweden or even Poland? Will everyone just stop being afraid of a nuclear war? And if the answer is yes, then I've got some bad news for you. This is exactly what's going to happen if Putin succeeds.
По поводу храбрых прибалтов. Вот в Калининграде, я знаю, сейчас большие проблемы на границе. Может быть, актуальным становится вопрос коридора до Калининграда? Коридора, сухопутного коридора до Калининграда. А почему нет?
Ну, если уж до Приднестровья
мне кажется, что государства под названием Литва и государства под названием Польша ведут себя слишком нагло. Слишком нагло. И не понимают еще, так сказать, да, что вот на самом деле с ними можно разобраться быстрее, чем с Украиной. Потому что вопрос коридора – это вопрос локальной военной операции, и это гораздо проще, чем все то, что мы сейчас затеяли на Украине.
Gangsters, people like Vladimir Putin, do not stop when they are getting what they want. And if the West will let him conquer Ukraine, it will be just a matter of time until the same questions will be asked again in regards to other European countries. Because I'm a Ukrainian 90s kid, and for some reason I know better than an Ivy League alumni. And the reason I'm telling all this to you, Ukraine has the chances to stop him now, before it's too late. Did you ever ask yourself, what would have happened if Poland won in 1939, if Hitler lost much of his manpower, and most importantly his authority among Germans and German elites? Would there be an invasion of France or the Soviet Union? Exactly. And the best part is, there's no need for US troops fighting Russia right now. Not yet. The Pentagon predicted that Kyiv would fall in 48 hours, but after 2 weeks of peaceful resistance, even the highest Western defense officials were shocked by what Ukrainian army and civilians were capable of. To date, the Russian attack is stalled to the point where they have to shift to terrorism, bombing residential buildings, attacking nuclear plants. Chernobyl is one of them, by the way. And even maternity hospitals. Not by mistake, by intention. The Ukrainian army is strong and motivated to resist till the last drop, but this is going to be a war of attrition, and to defeat the Russian army, which has a vast amount of resources, Ukraine needs help. There is an opportunity to effectively defeat the Russian army on Ukrainian soil and to stop the evil machine once and for all. But Ukraine needs much more than the West is doing right now. We need more air defense, we need airplanes, and we need artillery. And the faster Ukraine is armed, the faster this horrible war will end, less innocent people will die, and the fewer chances Russia will try ever again to wage such a horrendous war. And you personally, you can help right here, right now. You can post a message on Twitter or Instagram with an appeal to your government to arm Ukraine, help Ukraine protect its sky, and help us to win this war. Dancing in TikTok to support Ukrainians doesn't help those people bombed in their own houses. You know what helps though? Patriot battery. Because there are two options. Either Putin is effectively defeated now, or he wins again. But next time, the stakes will be even higher. Call your representative and ask him to arm the Ukrainian army and help it to resist. Every social media post matters. Every protest matters. Every minute matters. Thank you.